Thanks for joining me on episode 408 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Paulson from Kara. I challenge you to discover your true identity and calling so you can be empowered to live every day to the fullest. One way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mater.
The funny thing is the more you speak, the more you put it out there into the world, either through the written word or through your voice, the more likely that people that resonate with you will come into contact with you. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In today's episode about developing your influence by stewarding your time, I talk with you about identifying your tribe, finding ways to spend time with them, and why in person works best, but isn't required. As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon. I want to talk about finding your tribe. Now, that's the term that I first heard being used by Seth Godin, but it's used a lot online nowadays. It's finding that group of people who, when you meet them, when you walk into the room, when you first sit down with them, you immediately think, I have found my people. You know, the interesting thing is this actually is going to come or can come in different ways in your life. You know, identifying your tribe, identifying the people you belong with can come both to you as a leader of the tribe, as an influencer, as someone who speaks into the life of a group of people. And it can also come as that group who you belong with and you learn from and you grow with, the people who walk beside you in the journey. And both kinds of tribes are important when we think about developing your influence. You know, I think often we think of our tribe as just that group that we influence, that we're the leaders, we're the peak of the group, we're the leader of the tribe. But sometimes the tribe that you belong in and you learn from is every bit as important as the tribe that you actually lead. And you need to identify both in your life, and you need to constantly have both in your life. You know, a lot of times I think people think, well, the tribe that I influence is too small or it's non-existent. But the truth is, even if you're only influencing one person, even if that is the sum total of the tribe that you're influencing, you have an important role to fill in that person's life. And for most of us, the tribe that we influence is actually a lot bigger than we think. And the tribe that influences us is often the one that we ignore and abandon first. So let's think about identifying your tribe. How do you go about finding those people that you influence and who influence you? You know, the simplest way, as strange as it sounds, is to actually get back to dreaming about who you are and who you want to be. Who is it that you really want to be in your life? Who is it that you want to influence? Who is it that you want to communicate with? Who are the people that you admire? Sometimes it means asking questions like, what is the thing that you just can't not talk about, that you can't not fit into your life. And when you do that, when you begin to identify those things that really are integral to who you are, then what you need to do is go find places where people like that hang out. It could be a conference. It could be a church. It could be a workplace. It could be a meetup. It could be a referral group. It could be a chamber of commerce. It could be, I don't know. There's any number of places in the world where people gather. It also doesn't have to be physically present in the world. You can do this online too. You can do it through books. You can do it through podcasts. You can do it through YouTube videos. You can do it any number of ways to find people out there in the world talking about those things that you want to interact with. When you find those things, then you interact and you spend time with them. You both teach into them and you learn from them. And you find ways and time to spend time with them. In person works great. It's actually best. If you can find a conference with people that are in that area, in that niche, in that group that really completes you, that makes your why sing, that makes your heart go, these are my people, then that's always best. Sitting down across the table from someone and having a cup of coffee or actually breaking bread together is always the best way. But it isn't required anymore. You know, I've mentioned before that I have clients in multiple countries. Right this moment, I have clients in 6 countries. And I've had clients before in more countries than that and fewer countries than that. I talk to clients all day long via the internet through video conferencing. And yeah, it's not as great as being in the same room together, but it's close. And even picking up the phone and actually talking to someone on a telephone, not just texting them. I know. Believe it or not, phones actually do still make phone calls. You can do more than just text with them, is another way of connecting to people. Beyond that, writing, creating content, creating videos, putting your message out into the world are all ways of identifying your tribe. The funny thing is the more you speak, the more you put it out there into the world, either through the written word or through your voice, the more likely that people that resonate with you will come into contact with you. There's a degree to which there's simply a numbers game. You've got to make a lot of contacts before you begin to get the feedback required to really identify what it is that you're supposed to do and who are you supposed to surround yourself with. I know for me, some of this comes through this podcast. This is one of the reasons that I do it is as I talk about these things, I begin to hear things in my own voice that identify for me what my message is and who the people are that I'm supposed to be connecting with. And this isn't an in-person method. This is a one-to-many method. This is a broadcasting method, but it's still one that allows you to get to know things about how I approach things and what I do and how I think, and allows you to begin to see things about how I do things. And that allows you to begin to get to know me better. And that's what I'm talking about for you. What is it that you're going to do to begin to identify who are the people that you need to surround yourself with, both to lead and to lean into and to influence and to learn from and to allow to influence you? And that may be 2 groups of people or that may be the same group of people. But as you identify that, then and only then will you begin to really master spending time with your tribe. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.